Nice to meet you. My name is Matsumaru, a senior in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Takushoku University. My title is Present Causal Relationship Retrieval for Historical Analogy. This is the purpose and background of this study. The purpose of this study is to develop a system to apply the contents of high school history class just learned to various contemporary issues. As background, it has been pointed out that recent history education in high schools should not only aim at memorization and the development of historical thinking skills, but should also take into account the stage of applying historical thinking skills to the present day. It has been pointed out that we should take into account the stage of applying historical thinking skills to the present day. Let me explain what is referred to here as historical thinking skills based on previous research. The ability to analyze historical documents in detail, to read them critically, to understand the context, to understand cause and effect relationships, and to make connections. It also means the ability to think about contemporary issues in relation to what has been analyzed in this way. In a previous research aimed to develop historical thinking skills. Therefore, we developed a system that takes contemporary news as input and outputs similar historical news. By using this system, it became possible to think about strategies for solving various problems occurring in the present day. However, it is difficult to use in class because the such result as history. So knowledge of history is required before use and it lacks real-time performance. As a solution, this study developed a system to search for similar contemporary news from historical news. The system will be able to use historical news just learned in class as input and will be usable in real time. High school students who do not have sufficient knowledge of history will be able to learn easily, and in this process, extraction of temporal entity will be performed and accuracy of retrieval will be improved using a method unique to this research. To summarize the purpose of this study once again, by creating a system that uses temporal entity extraction to search for contemporary news that are similar to historical news to develop historical thinking skills and to think about how solve problems that arise in the present day, and to think about how to solve problems that arise in our time. An example of execution of this study is shown below. In this case, both input and output are handled in English. What I want to draw your attention to the red text, which is a keyword that connects to the cause and effect relationships. The input is invasions. The output is evacuation. The similarity of causal relationship in the two sentences is they are Islamic news and that the event was caused by a progression from an external enemy. The system for developing a method is as follows. First, we normalize the sentences. This involves tokenization, lemmatization, and removal of stop words. Next, we apply tag-me extract entities. We then identify temporal entities that only appear in that period to replace them with their entity types. Next, the system measures the similarity between the historical news input and the contemporary news retrieved from the database. In this case, LSA is used to calculate the similarity between vectorized sentences, but this method uses the ECM calculation method. ECM is method used from previous research and is a matching method that calculates causal similarity from maximum weight matching that takes into account time series by eliminating intersections between nodes. Let me explain this in more detail. But first, explain the conventional maximum weight matching. The historic and contemporary news texts are each divided into a number of nodes. Each node group causally related to each other and arranged in chronological order. The similarity between each node is then calculated, and the combination with the largest value is calculated as the similarity. In the case of this figure, as the total number of similarity between the two texts 8, the total score is 24. In the case of other example, the similarity is 10, the total score is 30. Comparing these two examples, the latter sentences is judged to be more similar. However, when using the ECM in this method, the similarity is calculated without intersection between nodes. In this case, the similarity is 20. By performing this operation, it is possible to calculate the degree to which sentences are similar to each other along the time series, making it possible to measure the causal relationships between sentences. Comparing them again, the former combination is judged to have a higher degree of similarity when the time series is taken into account. This is a calculation of similarity using ECM. Next, the look temporal entity. Temporal entity are entities that occur frequently in certain period of time, such as a person or an organization. As a counterpart, non-temporal entity are those that have existed for a long period of time. In this study, temporal entities are extracted from the text and transformed into more abstract entities. To extract temporal entity from sentences, we use a tool called TagMe. This tool can extract named entity in the text. The next step is set the period during which named entity is judged to be a temporal entity. The categories were extracted from the Wikipedia page of named entity obtained by TagMe. From this, a time period slash was set. This H-graph is calculated from the words belonging to the country category. In the case, this category by modality can be confirmed after 120 years. So we treat the age below 120 years as a temporal entity. In the same way, the following table shows the five categories. Next, this is an example of composition of temporal entities. If you pay attention to the color text, you can see that the temporal entities have been converted to abstract. Next experiment. We use historical causality as input and determine if the output is appropriate as a similar contemporary causality. To do so, we evaluate by using the precision, recall, F measure, and mean average precision value, which are widely used for classification evaluation. Represented mixed matrix and visualize the result in a heat map. Three methods are used for comparison. Finding the similarity of set of sentences using Jaccard coefficient. Latent semantic analysis using cosine similarity without splitting sentences. ECM-only method without extraction temporal entity. Next, dataset for evaluation. For historical news, we use historical dataset manually created experts by on history textbooks, and for contemporary news, we use a topic-by-topic news set news recorded in Wikipedia. Next, preparation. These two datasets are each assigned category for each sentences. We determine the category match between input and output sentences. However, the two datasets differ in the name of category in JD views. Therefore, the contemporary category was selected to be similar to the historical category, and the name were unified. We actually read each sentences and unified them as shown in the table here. The experimental result as follows. The map value confirms that the cut coefficient is 64.7%. The cosine similarity is 58.8%. The ECM alone is 67.2%, and the proposed method is 71.3%, indicating that the proposed method is the best. The heat map is shown below. Strong correlations were found in the diplomacy and rain category, but not so much correlation was found in the literature environment technology category. The history dataset for the category for each no strong correlation was found had fewer data than the other two. Therefore, it was not possible to extract data with the appropriate number of samples. Next, the following is an analysis of the category discrepancies with examples. For example, we discussed the high correlation between diplomacy and lane categories. In this case, it may be because news about international relations and economic in the contemporary category was conversed as a diplomacy category, and many events coincided with the context of the lane category in terms of domestic governance and foreign aggression. Let us check the actual sentences. Notice the colored sentences. Use of currency of forbidden this party in Wales, allowing Greek banks to make conventional loans secured by the country's government bonds for the first time. This case is in points such as the category mismatch that occurs as a result of similar economic related news. Thus, when matching historical and contemporary categories, the semantic nuances contained in the category differs. Therefore, it is believed that the category matching aspect could not be detected with a high degree of accuracy. The following could be considered as discussions. Need to validate with a larger sample size. The examination of sentences with unified categories of each other to make the search more accurate. It is necessary to extract sentences that have been assigned appropriate categories. These are 3 points above. Summary. In this study, we developed programs to output similar contemporary causal relations from historical causal relations as support system for historical education in high schools. We evaluated the agreement of category by extracting ECMs and temporal entities. Experiments show that the proposed method was more effective than other methods by about 5.5 to 15%. Finally, two things can be considered for future work. The first proposal of an effective learning method for incorporating this system into a historical class. Have students reflect contemporary events from the historical events they just learned about in a class. By doing so, they can take into account the stages of applying historical thinking skills to present day. The second is development of UI for appropriate use of the system. The system will be made available in a simplified manner by displaying similar causal relationships after entering the system and selecting a category. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention.